Welcome to the deep dive. You know that feeling when your own thoughts seem to be fighting each other, like one minute you're sure of something and the next, you're not?
Uh-huh. Pulled in different directions.
Exactly. Well, today we're looking at a really interesting text that dives right into that changeable thought's internal conflict.
Yeah, it's something I think pretty much everyone experiences, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to unpack why this text thinks this happens and, crucially, what it suggests as a way towards maybe a bit more mental quiet.
And what jumps out right away is how this text frames it. It doesn't just say it's confusing. It calls these shifting views a penalty
A penalty for what?
for, and this is the quote, naivety and confusion. It suggests this internal battle actively stops us from feeling calm.
Okay, a penalty. That's strong. So what's the root cause then? It mentions truth, right? How does that connect?
Yeah, it draws a really clear line. Stable thoughts, the text argues, come from truthfulness, which it equates with wisdom. When you grasp the truth, um, your understanding stays steady.
Even if things look separate on the surface.
Right. But when you don't know that truth, that's when confusion creeps in and your thoughts become, easily swayed and contradictory.
And it has a specific take on mistakes too, doesn't it? Even if you didn't mean to get it wrong.
It does. It basically lumps unintentional errors into falsehood.
So no innocent mistakes in this view. If you're wrong, and that contributes to the mental noise.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
It's part of what fuels the changeable thoughts. And then there's this really counterintuitive bit about lying.
Oh, right. Tell us about that.
Okay, so get this. The text suggests that deliberately saying something untrue isn't the real falsehood it's concerned with.
How did that work?
The idea seems to be that someone who lies intentionally still on some level knows the score, knows there's an underlying reality or connection they're twisting.
Okay.
The real falsehood, the one that apparently causes all this inner turmoil, is when someone is naive, believes their own mistake is the actual truth, and genuinely sees separation where the text says there is none.
Ah, got it. So it's the sincere belief in a flawed idea, not the sneaky lie, that creates the inner conflict.
Exactly. And that conflict. Well, the text doesn't mince words about how bad it feels.
The torture bed analogy.
Yeah, that one. Being pulled mentally in opposite directions, constant unrest, no peace. Sounds pretty awful.
It really does. And it pins the suffering squarely on belief.
Directly on belief. It says
Huh.
belief is the foundation of all this negativity.
But we usually think of belief or faith as a good thing, or at least a necessary one. How does the text justify calling it the root of badness?
Well, it argues belief stems from falsehood, that mistaken perception of separateness we just talked about. Whereas the truth, the idea that everything is fundamentally one, is seen as the source of all good.
So belief is only needed when you lack, what was it? True intellect.
Uh-huh. A direct understanding of reality. If you don't have that direct knowing, you fall back on belief, often belief in separation, and that, according to the text, is what fuels those changeable, conflicting thoughts.
It's making me think about my own assumptions, things I
Yeah.
just accept.
Right, it forces you to consider that. So, if belief is the problem, what's the fix?
What does the text say we should do?
It advocates for essentially dismantling belief, actively investigating, questioning all your internal opinions. Don't just accept them.
Question everything inside.
Yeah. It uses that metaphor of limited views being like stinging mosquitoes, annoying, constantly bothering you.
Okay.
And it says the courageous person questions all these views to try and find that underlying oneness, the truth beneath the beliefs.
So to wrap this up then, the core message seems to be that internal tug of war we feel. It's not random. This text claims it comes from holding on to beliefs, especially the belief in being separate.
Right. And the path to peace isn't necessarily finding the right belief, but moving beyond belief altogether through inquiry, seeking the truth of interconnectedness.
So the takeaway is really about questioning those foundational beliefs we often take for granted.
Precisely. Which leaves us, and everyone listening, with a pretty potent question to ponder.
Go on.
If this perspective holds any water, how might really, truly questioning one of your own deeply held beliefs, something you feel absolutely sure about, actually affect your inner peace?
Yeah.
Is there one you'd be willing to sort of put under the microscope?
Definitely something to think about. A challenging idea.